What's going on, everybody? This is David Mitchell here, and welcome back to episode 120 of Fans of Trains. And if y'all can tell right here, not Brightline, but Dimitri is getting ready to start his live stream, which we're going to be doing a collab with him. So we're waiting for him to start on his end, but we're already going to get started. But rock on. So let's get ready. And I hope everybody enjoyed the solar eclipse yesterday. For people who watch it, also partial solar eclipse we had here in South Carolina. We won't have another one until 2045, that for sure. But Dimitri should be getting ready to start. Bella is right in the background eating. But we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff with Dimitri today. Genesis will be coming on in a bit. He is running late, so we're going to bring that up. But we're definitely going to roast him, if y'all know what I mean. Speaking of that.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Hope you all can hear me. There we are. Apologies. A little bit late because traffic was pretty bad today. Got here, got my food, ate, and here I am. Okay, I know, it's been a bit, but here we are. Okay, so this is going to be a special stream. We're going to have David co-hosting with us today because we got a lot of stuff to go through. I mean, this country has been losing its collective mind. I think we can say that this country has lost it in a way, but we're here, we're still alive. There were no mercenary bands that were sacrificed yesterday. The moon did not come into a collision course with the planet. We are fine. We're here. There were no creatures coming out of the eclipse, so everything is perfectly fine. It was a nothing burger. It was very nice to see. I got a whole bunch of pictures and videos and stuff, but we'll go ahead and show that later. I hope y'all can hear me here. Let's make sure. Okie dokie. There goes fight. David on here.
All right. Hey, bud.
How's it going, man?
Well, I'm doing good.
Okay. Man, we got a lot of news to cover, man.
Oh, I know. We got a lot.
So, I know. It's just, so, David, what do you think? We have, basically, our infrastructure is falling apart over here. Literally, some of it's just falling into the water. We're really far behind when it comes to rail infrastructure, particularly. But what do you think the U.S. government wants to build a train?
Well, I think it did happen. Like, if we could finally get our butt together, or get everything invested the proper way instead of trying to be cheapskate and trying to do short-term profit. We might do good. But we're right now in a pretty bad predicament, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And then here's the thing. The U.S. government, instead of wanting to build a train or any sort of high-speed rail or any sort of train anywhere, they're now pushing DARPA to go ahead and push for Northrop Grumman to go ahead and build a train on the moon. Not anywhere on Earth, on the moon. So here's a couple articles on this. All aboard the moon train, DARPA is trying to figure out how to build a lunar railway. So it's pretty crazy, as silly and as stupid as it sounds. DARPA is tasking one of the military-industrial complex companies, Northrop Grumman, as if they need anything else, to go ahead and develop a concept for a lunar railway. They're paying millions of dollars to just develop the concept. for this. So we haven't even gone anywhere, anywhere substantial here on this planet, let alone America, when it comes to just building any sort of substantial transportation system. But now we haven't even built a base on the moon. We're not even there. Okay, we haven't built Von Braun or anything like that. Anything cool? We haven't built anything cool.
Oh,
okay?
I know.
There's no base on the moon. We're not in Gundam, but we're gonna build a train somehow on the moon.
It's so pathetic that our government is doing it. Like, literally, I don't even have faith in our own government anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And
this is just...
This is ridiculous, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's bad. Okay, so guys, for anybody in the audience, we're going to go ahead and take questions a little bit after. We're going to go through some articles. Me and David are going to opine on them, and then we'll go into bringing in people on board to go ahead and speak, opine, and share your thoughts on all of this. But,
I do want to bring up that Brightline might be running a little late because of family, so he will both to join us in the live stream too. He running a little late.
No worries. We're all good. I've been running late too, but yeah. So we have Eclipse, and DARPA wants to go ahead and build a train on the moon. For those of you who are just joining it right now, yeah, this is kind of silly, even to the point that the Rail Passengers Association has also opined on this as well. I think this is just silly and stupid. I agree. Yes, you read right. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, the people who brought you the internet, recently awarded a contract to Northrop Grumman to look at ways to build a railroad on the moon in 10 years' time. 10 years. Meanwhile, back down here on Earth, we're told it's great news that the Federal Railroad Administration considering opening some new long-distance routes in 36 years. Talk about priorities. It's on existing track that doesn't have to be built from scratch. What is wrong with this picture? A lot.
I have to agree with that. That, like, literally, the entertain I'll be on it about we literally keep on kicking the can down for the next generation. And I'm going to bring up a real quick tangent. It's that, yeah, not the baby boomer, they screwed everything up for us. They really did. And they said, they keep on telling us to pick our strap up, buy our food, and wear a Carter. Really? Coming from the generation that was spoiled and had everything handed to them on a silver platter? Am I right?
Yeah, it's just, it's gone really silly. But, I mean, this is just crazy where things have gone. But, yeah. I mean, this is just really silly. So that's really one thing. I mean, it just goes to show you how terrible this country has got. Again, we've lost our collective minds over here. Probably collectively as the West, but America in general has been taking everybody down in insanity. So we're going to talk a lot about some airplanes and Boeing. But first, let's watch this video of, speaking of somebody going insane. Here's a female pilot completely going just nuts. I mean, just tell me if this person seems like somebody who is a sane, collected person who seems responsible and you're ready to trust your life with this person who's going to take you 30,000 plus feet up into the air to fly you to a destination. Okay, it's a very, very tricky task to do, but this person thinks that they deserve to be your pilot. So listen to this.
Like, it's crazy when you did think about it.
It's nuts.
Heck, Dane, I remember back almost 50 years ago, they tried that crap, they would have got fired, you know?
Yeah. But let's continue seeing this here. It's kind of an older video. It has just popped up more into the internet now because it's become, again, it's still recent enough, but this is becoming a thing more and more, right?
Mm-hmm. It have.
So, I mean, just think about it. This is someone who doesn't want to change into the uniform. Again, look, the first thing you got to do into a job, even if when I worked at Publix, okay, I had to make sure that I was shaved down. I had to make sure that I was wearing my uniform to work at Publix, okay? Mm-hmm. So the least you can do as a pilot is at least look professional, at least look the part.
Heck, right? I have a uniform.
Yeah, this is just nuts. Okay, so let's finish this. We got like 30 seconds left of this video. Let's just go through it and let me opine on this. I mean, she's talking about her divorce. She's talking about political candidates. She's getting political. Ugh. I mean, this is someone who's crazy. This is someone who is sociopathic. This should be nowhere near a joystick.
You know, I'm going to bring it up, and it changes on our generation. We get ticked off when people like that get fired, and we said, "Don't fire them." Like, I'm going to bring up my generation, Gen Z. Did one pet peeve about my generation that when people get fired, that they don't agree that should be get fired when those people are straight up dangerous, they get ticked off about it. I'm sorry.
Let me go ahead and finish this. Apparently, Stephen Becker saying that it's an old video. The pilot was fired, and it's from 2011. Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. Still, this is kind of a little bit. Again, this was just something just quick. Let's get through this so we can get through the real meat of where this live stream is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 20 people have left, so yeah, you don't want to trust in somebody doing that. But let's fast forward now, 13, 14 years later, and here's the stuff that we're looking at right now. This is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, planes going on fire, and again, this is back from 2023. Okay, here we are, September 30th, United Airlines Boeing 737 MAX flight from Denver to Boston suffered an engine fire during the takeoff phase. The crew rejected takeoff, resulting in multiple tire bursts, and the aircraft stopped on the runway. Okay. So, again, these issues with the MAX 9 and several other Boeing models have been a thing for quite a while. Okay? This is the newest one now. It is the whole engine cowling falling off. And again, this probably is less to do with Boeing and more to do with the crew on the ground that were going ahead and inspecting the aircraft. They probably forgot to shut the cowling out because there are certain snaps that you have to go ahead, like the hood off a car, right? Basically, they forgot to shut the hood. More or
exactly.
Less. Probably, this is just silly stuff that just keeps happening more and more.
And the other thing is, and I'm going to bring it up, is that we don't go through checks, seeing who can fly. Like, literally, we don't even do those anymore. It's so freaking scary. Heck, there are reasons why the U.S. will look like in a bad way right now. Like, we're the laughing stock of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is something that we shouldn't be, look, it's one thing when it's one or two accidents, and people are getting a little bit more scared, right? There's certain things now. This is one video that, people are getting a little bit freaked out about any sort of little movement on the plane, right?
Heck,
for example, here's something that's completely normal on airplanes, right? And I just thought it was just silly that this was news. Plane wing bounces in high winds on descent into Denver. This is normal.
That is normal.
And we have to be fair, right? This is something that happens. Look, plane wings especially have to have some sort of flexibility. They cannot be super rigid or they'll snap.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it has to be.
that
and
for
this
sure.
This is the least that I've seen. You know, it has to be like that. That's not a big deal. But it goes to say, and this is the thing that's going on right now, is that people are becoming more and more nervous about flying on airplanes, which is still very safe comparatively, especially compared to driving anywhere in the United States. Okay? And even in some cases, it's actually safer than trains. You know, when you take Amtrak, for instance. Okay? Certainly the safest mode of travel is by far the train. When we're talking about like maybe the Shinkansen, I mean, we're talking about 10 billion people and 0 operational fatalities.
Oh,
That's
I know.
That's the safest mode of transportation ever. But, you know, again, stuff like this, that's normal. Okay? So we do need to calm down a little bit. Okay? But, okay, you may need to hold your collective-ish, okay? And I'll just curse this little once. You may need to hold your collective shit sometimes if you're going to be flying on Boeing. Because here's something that happened. Alaska Airlines flight from Hawaii to Alaska, forced to turn around due to the loo overflowing with poo. It flooded.
Oh!
Flooded.
Well,
the poor stewardess here is just feebly throwing whatever they can of whatever paper towels they can. But yeah, look at it; it's going down the whole entire aisle.
Hey, Dimitri, I get that a little flying shit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's yeah. I do not envy them right now. That's a pretty crappy task to be doing.
Well, I will have to admit that is definitely a crap storm right there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I get that a poop avenue for you.
Yeah. So, real quickly. We're going to go quickly into the headlines up here. So a top politician said he avoids flying on Boeing planes because his family cares about him. An airline boss jumped to his defense and called him stupid, and then replied, I would happily fly any Boeing aircraft. Experts say travel should feel safe flying. And they go into this article saying, well, there's all the seats are safe seats. There's no safer seat, you know. But there are safe seats. These are the safest seats on an airplane, according to aviation experts. So, yeah, there actually are safest seats, and they're the ones closer to the back. You have less of... You have a marginal percentage of surviving in a crash, and that's over, multiple crashes. Again, these are articles you guys can look at.
That's true.
Again, this is just going now for people to just start thinking, this is more recent news, and people are now starting to rethink how to get around this country, what is going on with our infrastructure system, what is going on with our manufacturing, what is going on with America as a whole. Why are these things just happening more and more often? That we're going back and forth on this. Okay?
Hopefully,
to the point that people are just, this is a normal thing now. But whistleblowers being found dead for going against what Boeing would say this is safe. So if it was safe, why is he dead?
Heck, and I knew the guy.
Strange.
Like,
yeah, I mean.
It's scary that I actually knew the guy. Like, he literally came by my Walmart back when he used to still work for Boeing, and he said that he could not stand them, kicking well-trained people out just for, to be inclusive, with trying to, be all equality-like. Like, the thing is that when you throw good working people out just to try to make yourself, like, inclusive, like for everybody, you start screwing up. Am I right?
Yeah. So, just a short summary of what happened, in case you guys don't know, because at this point, everybody probably should know. John Barnett used to work with Boeing. He was pretty high up in the manufacturing sector of Boeing in South Carolina, where they make the 737. And he has been whistleblowing for years about a lot of the safety violations over at Boeing. Fast forward closer to the day, he was found dead with an apparent gunshot to the head after shortly making statements to his lawyers and getting ready to go ahead and testify against Boeing in a public court of law. So there's a lot of things that are weird, and it doesn't add up with the typical suicides. Somebody who was going to commit suicide probably wouldn't eat their last meal at the hotel restaurant. They either wouldn't eat, or they probably would go all out and eat the biggest meal they've ever had in their entire life. Okay? Again, possibility, yes, that he committed suicide, probably. But again, very strange. Very, very strange. Now, the South Carolina, the Charleston police, local PD, they're supposedly going ahead and investigating the case. Honestly, this should be probably bumped up to another agency. This, again, it's a little weird, and there's probably let's put it this way, a lot of police departments are very closely funded and very closely tied with a lot of the power players in the local area. Okay? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of corruption, especially today in America's police departments.
Heck, I can actually say that for my own sake, too.
Let's not get too caught up into it. Everybody's very aware. Okay? So it's very strange how all this has been going on. Okay? To the point that this was an article from 3 weeks ago. The Boeing whistleblowers from Fortune magazine. The Boeing whistleblower's death is a tragic reminder that society still expects people like John Barnett to become martyrs. And again, going into saying that this is sort of a normal thing now in America. You get a whistleblow, you could end up dead. Okay? You have a little booklet with a lot of powerful names that came to your little island. You're probably gonna end up dead. Okay? And if anybody that's connected to that, okay? This is just, it's weird. It's strange. It's something that should very much perk the ears of a lot of people and say, hey, there's something wrong going on. There's something very strange.
That is true. And heck, I knew the guy, and when he told me he had it up here with Bowen, he wanted to whistleblow, but he knew he was going to put himself on a target. That for sure. And I kind of figured that too, because let's be honest, that stuff would put anybody on a target. Am I right?
Yeah. So it's very strange. And more bad news for Boeing. The FBI has told the passengers of American Airlines flight that they may be the victim of a crime. Just maybe. Not that they are the victim of a crime, but they may be the victim of a crime. So they have been doing a class action lawsuit. They're probably going to do a criminal lawsuit as well, on top of a civil lawsuit that's already undergoing. So, yeah, more the bad news Boeings. This, I think, was a very good article. This came out a week ago. It's called The Boeing Nosedive. I'm going to go through it real quick because I think this is a good article. Again, I'm going to just go through it as quickly as possible. Again, talking about John Barnett. Saturday, March 9th, the lawyers Rob Turkowitz, Brian Knowles were looking forward to getting his story on the record. Barnett had worked in the company's South Carolina plant, building 787 airliners from 2011 to 2017, during which time he'd witnessed numerous safety violations. After he took his complaints public, Barnett alleged Boeing had punished him by denying him promotions and forcing him to retire early. By suing, he sought not only to redress his own mistreatment, but also to push Boeing to revamp its safety culture. The need was urgent. Boeing's reputation has been in free fall since the start of the year, starting to the blowout of a door plug on a brand new 737 MAX 9 over Oregon, and continuing with a series of well-publicized mishaps, including an incident just the day before when a wheel fell off a 777 leaving San Francisco.
And then
we're going into what happened. Conspiracy theories exploded, which, again, is it a conspiracy that this guy may have been killed? Yeah. What a conspiracy is multiple people getting together to go ahead and commit some sort of crime or commit some sort of action. He can be charged for conspiracy to murder in the United States. This is not again, the whole term is just silly in terms of the context that is being used. It's incorrect, okay, because people can't read or understand words anymore.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Intensified further after a relative claim to a local TV station that Burnett had told her that if anything happens, it's not a suicide. Okay?
Oh, speaking of that, we got Genesis. He on now. We could go ahead and bring him on.
All right. Well, let's finish this article. We'll bring him on right after this to
All right.
Go ahead and reply, because this is pretty important. There were two ways to interpret the story. Either Boeing's communication strategy had been expanded to include assassination, probably, or its reputation had become so toxic that the public found it possible to believe the worst. So either way, it's again, the timing of this is terrible. It's not good at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very fishy too.
Yeah. Fantasy side, Boeing's in trouble. I mean, there's even now websites on Kayak that you can find flights that aren't the 737 MAX. So, I mean, it's getting worse and worse for Boeing. But the funny thing about this article, it goes into when Boeing brought in McDonnell Douglas. And the really bad thing about that was that it was run, if you guys have ever read The Man Who Broke Capitalism, about Jack Welch and how he turned General Electric from a once respectable American company, started by Thomas Edison. We're talking about a company that had revolutionized the way Americans live, into an absolute behemoth, a military-industrial complex monster that was just absolutely became a toxic place to work at, and it just became, sort of what people would call the epitome of the corporate American monster from the 1980s. Okay, it's a heavy read, but it's something that has happened. So cutting as much as you can in order for profits, in order to put the shareholders over on top of actually making a good product and serving society. Again, if you're making a profit the right way, it's not only just the money, but you're making a societal profit as well in terms of moving society and the country and its people and its families forward. Okay? So again, talking about how everything, what was a disaster over here, how many CEOs that Boeing has gone through, okay? The last CEO has just gotten a golden parachute for over $20 million. So imagine that, you mess up, you still have CEOs, they keep getting, sweetheart deals to leave, golden parachutes, and now this latest CEO just, I'm sorry, I messed up, give me $20 million. The only parachute this guy should be getting is a parachute that was stuck in a room with a cat that was on major cocaine for hours, and that parachute should be dropped off at 30,000 feet with him. That's the only parachute that this man deserves.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? This is just ridiculous. Okay? The cat's not in the parachute, guys. The cat is in the room with the parachute. Okay? You can only imagine what a cat on cocaine would do to a parachute. But please, this is just insane. So you can go into this article. Look at this. McNamee also fought to deeply cut costs. I just watched the company operate its first non-unionized aircraft production line, initiated a program called Partners for Success that pushed suppliers to cut their prices by 15% or more. Many fear that squeezing suppliers would harm the quality of their components. It does. But McNerney was determined to recoup the cost of the 787's development. Okay? If the subcontractors complained, they could find their work taken away from them, as happened to the landing gear maker, United Technologies Aerospace Systems. And landing gears are falling apart or blowing up in a fire. I wonder why. Okay? And again, another retirement, handpicking successor, another Jack Welch type. Again, this just keeps going and going and going. So you can sort of see this. Again, this is very bare bones, very quick summary of what I'm doing. But this is a fantastic article, very much laying the groundwork for why Boeing is where it is right now. And this is not just Boeing. There's so many other American companies that have gone through this process. Of course, you can see American Airlines being headed by a certain person we love to go ahead and talk about on this channel that we've encountered so many times. Okay, but that sort of behavior has just permeated through many of America's companies. It's become the de facto way to run a company, and so finding ways to cut down service, cut down the ways that a company runs. Cut this, cut that, in order to find ways to go ahead and pump up money to the shareholders or buy back the stocks. Again, for the benefit of the shareholders.
which should be illegal.
Yes, it should be. I mean, but look at this. Look, tires falling off and everything. You know, again, this is just what's going on. You know, this is what happens when you gut a company of its soul and take it from what used to be a respectable American company that stood for something into this. All right, now let's bring on another co-host over here. Let's bring on Genesis.
All right.
Yeah, we're going really quickly through these articles. This is all the Boeing articles that I have here. Genesis, welcome aboard, man.
Welcome. Well, thanks for having me right now. He's a lot to talk about because Boeing has had recent problems with its 737, and those things are not new, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the 737 project was what revolutionized the air travel around the world. Okay, because I mean, you had your what you had before was nowhere close to how planes function today. Okay, this completely revolutionized, and we're still using a 50-year-old, more or less 50-year-old design, or 60-year-old design if you really look at it,
and trying to modify it,
develop it. Yeah, but it's been modified to keep, being relevant to today. Okay, kind of like the Volkswagen Beetle. I mean, the original Beetle was still being produced in Mexico up until the late 2000s. Okay, so I mean, we're talking about a good design that just holds up and does well. But and again, this is a good solution over here in this article that I found. To save itself, Boeing could look into the past, returning to centering engineers, committing to training and retaining a skilled and experienced workforce, investing in building new aircraft with the latest technology. And Boeing has indeed made some limited steps in that direction, probably too late. And probably not enough because, unfortunately, after the coup, a lot of the older engineers were, again, forced to retire like Barnett, okay? And I know plenty of people at so many companies that were forced to retire at their previous companies. You had people that came in, they weren't trained properly, or they just brought in a whole crowd. They changed the way everything ran at the company, and it's just gone to crap. I mean, if you look at a lot of American cars right now, we have the highest amount of recalls for automobiles. New automobiles made in this country. Well, for the same reasons.
Probably is not just Boeing that has the same problem. It's the airlines as well. You've got so much flight attendants retiring, so much pilots. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're almost having a pilot shortage.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Like it's pretty bad.
We'll have more of these pilots coming up soon. More of the sociopaths and the psychopaths who believe they deserve the job, who won't even get dressed in proper uniform, and then go ahead and talk insanely about their life story and their struggles and all. That's not a mentally well person.
That's a woke person. Mm. And there's a certain candidate that said everything woke goes to goes to crap.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is just beyond woke. This is just insane.
Yeah, it is.
It's insane. All right, so let's go to Brightline. Unfortunately, we don't have bright news for Brightline because, and again, this can be taken plenty of different ways. I see this as taken kind of in a silly fashion. There was really no need for this to happen, and it's it is pretty hypocritical, especially when you consider how much money is spent on other forms of infrastructure that don't at all make money.
Brightline has wrapped their trains, not covering their windows, so that's a plus side.
Yeah, but again, it's what I'm talking about here is that it's hypocritical that governments will go ahead and pay billions and billions of dollars for roads that essentially don't work the way they should. But they can't even, pinch a little bit of pennies here and there for trains. Mm-hmm. And it's not just, state governments, right? Because we see this in the federal government too, okay? Because they'll go ahead and spend, just rubber stamp, overnight, billions of dollars to be sent to aid to a certain country in the Middle East and a certain country in Eastern Europe for billions of dollars to pay for ways to kill young men. But they won't pay for any jobs to go ahead and help young men in this country.
Exactly.
To learn certain skills and build this country.
Don't get me started on those guys on the boys who not on the boys, but the people who hate men actually.
Yeah, and it sounds like some sort of silly platitude, but this is honest when you look at it. It is very just kind of sick, right? We have a country that's in a sense anti-natalist. It's very against the youth and helping the youth. I mean, look at the vitriol just even mentioning about doing anything for student loan debt. Okay, that's apparently too hard. And look, I'm pretty much on the very right. But when it comes to student debt, yes, I believe that they are for real predatory loans. I mean,
that for sure.
Expect an 18-year-old that now they can't drink, now they can't smoke. They just got out of high school, so they're not that smart. But yet they could sign up for hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans, but they can't have it. They don't have the credit score in order to go ahead and get a car. They have to co-sign with somebody, but they can sign all by themselves, no problem, for $20,000-$30,000 for a student loan. And they can't default on it. They can't go ahead and claim bankruptcy on it like any other sort of debt. And it follows them forever. This is silly. You know what? Maybe we should all just stop and let the banks. The banks will go ahead. The banks have gotten golden parachutes. The banks have gotten like this rubber stamped billions of dollars. So it's just silly. But anyway, back to
the banks are always too big to fail.
Yeah, that's too big to fail. But the youth of this country, no, don't worry. You gotta bootstraps.
Like the youth of the generation, I'm going to bring it up. The youth of the generation have finally realized it, saying, hey, I am going to end up in debt if I do this. Like, our generation is starting to realize that it's a trap and we're not doing it. Like, literally. And we're starting to, want to go for, like, trade schools instead of college and all that.
I can't blame them. I absolutely don't blame them.
Yeah. All right. So, going on to Ron DeSantis saying Florida won't pay for Brightline expansion. And again, this can be taken in multiple ways. The good thing about Brightline is that, yes, it's a private company. They do have public activity bonds, which everybody was, certain people were complaining that, it's a form of public funding. Yes, but they have to pay it back. Okay? The bonds are, again, there's a certain time frame to be paid back. And when it comes to these large infrastructure projects, this is something that you're not going to expect all of a sudden once it starts selling to make money. The Japanese Shinkansen took 10 years to amortize its debt from 1964. It took until the 70s for the first line to go ahead and make money.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
There are several, and there are still several lines that do make very much a lot of money. Even in the United States, Amtrak makes a profit on the Acela. Amtrak makes a profit on the Surfliner. Amtrak makes a profit on the Auto Train. So, yeah, even in our own country, and there's still plenty of transit lines that do make money, and it used to make a lot of money before. Yeah, it can be very much a successful and profitable business. But here we are. During the Wednesday press conference, DeSantis commented on his decision to deny state funding for construction and operations of high-speed rail operator Brightline. All right, so really quickly, Governor DeSantis held a press Wednesday where he signed a bill that addresses road projects, congestion, and other transportation issues. But there is one thing the bill does not improve: money for the proposed expansion of the high-speed rail between Orlando and Tampa. At Florida Polytechnic University, DeSantis commented on Florida lawmakers not including state funding for construction and operation of Brightline, which runs trains between Miami and Orlando. It's privately funded. I mean, we're not going to be on the hook as the state with taxpayers for doing trains.
Like,
okay?
I do want to bring up that it's funny that they won't support that, but they will support a freaking widening project on a freaking road. Like, it's so stupid. Like, they would support that over, a freaking highway project. Am I right about that?
Yeah. So the thing is that now It's not quite sure to what extent is the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, going to pay for clearing up the I-4 section in between the corridor, because it's going to go on the right between the highway, right in there, a 44-foot wide corridor on the right of way. That's where Brightline is going to be running. Okay, very similar to what they're going to be doing in Las Vegas, between Victorville and Vegas, which they've already gotten federal funding for, which was surprising, and it was actually good. I'd rather there be billions of dollars given to Brightline than billions of dollars given to bullets and HIMARS and whatever else to go and blow up something. Okay?
Oh.
Look, I'm all in favor of blowing things up. Okay? but let's blow up the right things. All right?
Exactly.
I don't know why we're even over there.
Oh, speaking of that, Genesis, look in the chat, and Brightline, you want to look what I did in the, the chat.
In the chat, okay. Let me check.
It in the live stream chat.
Oh, boy.
Oh, brother, David! You're trying to make a James joke again? What a James reference.
I had to do it, man. Like, what are we?
All right. Okay, so we're more than halfway there. Let's get to the rest of this. And this may be something that I may leave for another stream, because there's something that's called a death spiral, started by a guy named John Ioannidis, a Stanford professor, about society basically once they get to a point of no return, especially after what happened to the coup, things just start to get worse and worse and worse. Hence, what's called a death spiral.
And I get it, you want. It's real.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. So, really quickly through these headlines, Elon Musk predicting about electricity shortages. Again, a guy who's really dependent on electricity for many reasons. You can figure out why. Saying we're going to have like South Africa style electricity shortage, brownouts, blackouts, that sort of thing. All right, so that's one thing. 2 weeks ago, there was warnings about the drinking water issue nationwide in the United States about that there could be some sort of hack, according to the EPA, to, again, like Iran's going to do it, but like they can barely, figure out certain weapons, but, somehow they're going to have Hacker Man to go ahead and hack and put poo-poo into the drinking water. Okay, sure. But still, you never know. Right? But, and this is the crazy thing. This was a article that came out 3 weeks ago. So before a certain bridge fell down, this was an opinion article about bridges are collapsing and candidates aren't talking about it. Okay? And again, I've talked about this before. Long story short, more than a third of the bridges in the United States are so decrepit that they may fall apart. They are beyond a point of being able to exist without extreme amounts of maintenance. They have gone that far. Okay?
Oh yeah, that for sure. Like
I see where we are.
It for sure.
Where did the article go here? Okay, now I can't find the bridge article.
Oh, I did. Dimitri, I did send 2 memes, and one of them fits what just happened right now.
Okay.
Sponsored by a Genesis fail. You gotta
I know. I'm trying to get to these articles. Oh, let me see. Where's also more bridge crews. I thought I had this up. Now I can't find it. Here we go. Here it is. Okay, got it. Okay. Key Bridge cleanup crews in Baltimore begin removing containers from the Dolly cargo ship. So if you don't know, the bridge got redeemed here. You know what I mean. The ship Dolly, which funny enough, this ship also crashed in a Belgian port several years ago. This bridge hasn't. This ship hasn't had very good luck, right? The bridge didn't crash; it's the boat that crashed, right? But now they're finally going ahead. They have to take off all these containers before they can finally get the stuff off, move the bridge, and open up the port. Because it's an important port in America. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes through here. You've heard it for weeks. Okay, we're kind of late on this, but again, we have to go into this. That this is not. This is something that's becoming more and more of a norm here in America. It's just, again, you just never know if you're going to be going across the bridge, and all of a sudden, oh no, sir, we're going to crash into the bridge, and you fall into the water, and that's it. Like the 6 poor guys here that were, funny enough, ironically, filling potholes on the bridge. Okay, so the only time, finally, when they're starting to fix the road, it doesn't end well for these guys.
Oh yeah, it was just crazy. That is not a way to go. Like, if you remember, there was one Final Destination movie, Final Destination, where there was a bridge being worked on with construction workers, and that bridge collapsed. If we all remember that movie.
Yeah, but it's getting crazy.
I remember a time when the United States actually knows how to build skyscrapers in less than 4 years, or maybe 6.
Yeah, and they're still standing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now it takes about 10 years or 20 years to build something. Like, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of red tape going on when it comes to building something. And that's why we have the less rail projects here.
Oh yeah, that for sure.
It's just getting worse and worse. Let's bring in some good news. I'm going to skip a lot of these articles. I'm going to leave it for next time because I think it may be feasible to talk about a little bit more of the craziness that's happening in America's transportation systems. Just a quick sneak peek. And you can tell this is a completely different country than what we used to have before. Haunting and heartwarming historic photos of underground travel. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you guys can sort of understand. I mean, look at this. Compared to the videos you see, and I'm only going to say this just very briefly, compared to the videos you're seeing of New York nowadays, this is a complete night-day difference of what this country has become. Here are people dressed up nicely. No one's getting beaten up. No one's getting shot. No one's having some sort of weird street performer or schizo trying to punch them or something like that, or taking a dump in the middle of the subway or taking off all their clothes. I mean, this is just a completely different, completely different planet of people, of just what has happened to this country.
Oh, that's true. Like, it's so true and sad. And thing is, everybody didn't want to, not want to take action to fix it.
Exactly.
Even my wife Belle agrees.
There's a lot of people who are in government institutions that want this kind of stuff. They don't do nothing, exactly nothing to improve that.
Exactly.
It's just absolutely just. I don't know. By the way, here's Glasgow, Scotland. Some things just don't change. This was back in the 1950s. People say, people are so engrossed in their phones and blah, blah, blah. Well, back then they had these things called newspapers. They still kind of exist today. Maybe some of you guys have heard about it, but
oh yeah,
Some things change and some things just stay the same. This is just kind of one thing. But anyway, I thought it was interesting. We're going to go more into a stream, just talking about happening.
Speaking of New York, there are lots of businesses that are going out of New York. They're going out of business in New York. The crime there is horrendous.
Yeah,
there's a lot of crime going on.
It's gone terrible.
It is.
So, one little maybe bit of good news here. U.S. traffic deaths have dropped in 2023 despite drivers logging more miles. Now, again, if you zoom out the graph, it's still pretty high. Maybe this could be a year that it just goes a little bit low and it maybe goes back high because we still haven't gone below 40,000. According to early estimates, 40,990 people died in motor vehicle crashes in 2023, a 2.6% decrease in 2022, when 42,514 people were killed in crashes. It's still a lot, and it's still pretty high up compared to what it used to be before. And again, it was very strange during 2020 when everybody was supposedly working from home. There were a lot less miles being driven by anybody, and traffic fatalities shot up to record levels. We're still pretty much at record levels here. It's gotten a bit better, but again, we have to see more data and more years to really see where things are going, but it's still pretty bad. A little bit less, but again, driving in America is probably one of the most dangerous things you do every day.
Oh,
it's like a demolition derby.
Yeah.
Oh, that is definitely true. Now, I do have to say it, and it did happen yesterday on Monday while heading into work. I was riding the bus Monday, and I saw 3 different car accidents.
What?
3 different car accidents. One where a car was flipped around in a ditch. Then, not even 2 to 3 miles later, there were 2 other car accidents right beside each other. Like, we had one car in the ditch in the right lane coming to Ravenel, like it was in the ditch. Then we had a 3-car fender bender on the left side heading into West Ashley. So, cars are pretty bad. That per se.
Again, I love cars. I love automobiles. I don't think most Americans should be driving and don't know how to operate an automobile.
Mm-hmm.
I think, honestly, this is probably one of the things that maybe should have stayed with a more aristocratic type of personality, because it's just... I mean, the cars are getting supposedly easier to drive. They're putting so many sensors and early warning systems to the point that people don't even know how to drive. It's already bad enough that you have people who shouldn't be driving larger and larger cars. And people do agree. One article over here, vast majority of Americans express concern over the growing size of trucks and automobiles. So yes, it is a real thing. And we'll talk about that at another stream. We've talked about it plenty of times before. But some good news, safety related. The FRA has required 2-person crews. This is something we've been saying that needs to be done. It should be something that, you have a pilot and co-pilot when you're flying. Okay? So why not have the same thing? Exactly.
To be NSF, go to Riddix.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No more 1-person crews. No more, again, it's enough. You need 2-person crews.
Oh, yeah. And now that they put it at final as law, they can't even change it now.
Yeah. So now that's something. Again, there's a lot more to be done when it comes to doing something about precision scheduled railroading, which probably won't be done. Because funny enough, and we talked about this before plenty of times, on Norfolk Southern, the train that crashed in East Palestine, they had to blow up and have caused permanent damage to the town. To this day, it's still uninhabitable, despite what they say. People are getting very sick. And there's really no real recourse that is being done for the people of East Palestine. There were 3 people on the train. There was an engineer, a conductor, and a conductor trainee. However, of course, we know what happened was the brakes overheated the wheel bearing. And instead of being able to stop the train, they were told to keep it going. It wasn't inspected properly before. Like so many trains now under the rule of precision scheduled railroading are not getting the proper amount of just any sort of inspections. They're just being thrown out there to go ahead. Again, it's all about profit for the shareholders. Okay, if you can show a very high utilization rate of being able to go ahead and overuse a lot of the equipment, which is just some equipment that's being cannibalized because they're burning through parts. Okay, this is just part of what's going on. Again, there's more safety regulations that need to be done. This is one good thing, but we need to get to the heart and the foundation of the root of the issue. Like we talked about with Boeing, a lot of the same ways that American companies are being run, even in the railroads. Okay?
You know that whenever companies do something wrong, they get bailouts.
Oh, that's
really
true.
Oh.
Speak.
So I think we need to get rid of the bailouts because they gotta suffer the consequences.
Oh yeah, that for sure.
If you did something wrong, suffer the consequences. It's just what it is. There's no too big to fail. If you failed, you failed. Okay, it's as simple as that. All right, last article. I thought this was funny. West Virginia Department of Transportation partnering with Rail Explorers to bring rail bikes to Clay County, Virginia. So people are going to be able to power their own train by biking it along. It's just a very long, more or less recumbent railed bicycle over here. I've made the joke that for every baby boomer in a leotard that's blocking the road, they should be charged with hard labor and put on this. And instead of having BNSF and Norfolk Southern pulling trains, we should just punish any biker in a leotard should be punished with hard labor and be pushing trains around the country in this. That's what they should be doing. But again, unfortunately, I don't run the country. But that would be a firm and just punishment.
Oh yeah, it would. Heck, it'll be a punishment for all they did. Speaking of that, Dimitri, I got 3 memes, Brightline, that I want you to show on live stream because of how hilarious they are.
I know. Let's leave Brightline alone. He's had nothing to do with right. He's had nothing to do with. All right, let's go ahead.
Yeah, we got the 3 crew.
Let's bring in our audience over here. Go ahead, no pine. We got 4 people in here. Let's go ahead, left to right. Who's ever here? Steven. Just Steven. Bring him on. Here we are.
I think he's a Navy geek. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard, Homer.
How's it going?
Bro, there's so many things that's been going on. I've just been waiting to speak for almost like an hour now.
I know. I'm sorry, man. But you're here. You're here now. Go ahead.
You're here. Yeah. So there was so many. Like,
Not you, David.
Let's backtrack. So there was something. I think it was like David or Tribal guy. Oh, by the way, I'm a Floridian too. I use Tribal as well.
Bro, I'm a Floridian too as well.
Wait, what county are you in?
From Broward. I used to live in Broward, but now I'm in the DR, the Dominican Republic.
I'm in Broward.
Oh, well, I guess we finally found each other.
I'm born and raised state boy, so that's just me.
Well, you're Floridian too, so it's all right. We'll let it go. Well, there was something said about that the highways, like the federal government won't fund transit expansion, but will fund like highways and widening highways. Which, like, there's so many different things in that statement alone. So I'm sure you guys know about like the economics of scale between transit and car. And as coming from I am a huge advocate for transportation, including trains and metro systems, and I like to see more urban, like not urban sprawl, but like more urban usage of transit. But the reason why the state of Florida is prioritizing like highways is because it's a huge generator for the state. Now, for instance, the turnpike, that is pretty much the main essential artery between, I want to say, like, commerce between the east and west of the state. Now, you have interstates like 95 and 75 and the I-4 corridor that run through the state. But when you think about the like toll roads in the state of Florida, they are huge revenue gainers for the state of Florida, and a ton of freight move with them. Now, when it comes to rail in the state of Florida, you don't really have an incentive for the state to actually go out and invest in it because it's not proven, and B, there's no incentive to prove it because we're already having so much of our freight and commerce being done through cars and trucks. Now, I would like to see more rail freight being conducted throughout the state of Florida because we have CSX, we have Florida East Coast, we have all these different rail operators, but it's not profitable enough for the state of Florida to actually invest in them. Now, for passenger rail service, the reason why we're not actually like we're not investing in private or public rail service in Florida is because Brightline is losing a lot of money. Now the product is not fully there and it's not really up to speed, and also it's a private company. There was a comment made earlier that said that Brightline is not going to be funded by the state of Florida, and one of you guys said it was stupid. But Mayor Armani, that Brightline is a private company, and that's when you guys made a comment saying that we're funding roads and not trains. Now,
that is true.
The logic is sound. I'll give you that. Where we should be funding public like rail opportunities, like metro systems, because right now in Dade County, if you want to get from the airport to downtown, you have to get on the metro system, which is terrible because we have two lines that run parallel and that don't get you anywhere. Like the whole metro system in South Florida is ass, quite frankly. But the reason why the state of Florida is not prioritizing rail is because A, there's no incentive. B, it's going to cost too much. D, we have no incentive. We have no incentive to prove it because we already have everything already running through highways and bridges and tunnels. It doesn't make sense for the state of Florida to actually incentivize doing this because it's just not financially viable.
Right. I understand what you're saying, which is why, again, this can be taken multiple ways. I will say this, and probably the reason why it's not being incentivized is because it's a very unfair market when you have a very big hand on the market, right? You know, the free hand of the market to go ahead and do whatever, right? The thing is, and this has been noted by, I believe, Paul Reinbrook, who was a very big conservative libertarian guy. That the current transportation, this whole system is being dominated by highways and air transportation, and it's not really a free market outcome, right? Because you have the government go ahead and push a massive amount of incentives and funding, public funding, to both the creation of the highway system and the airways, very much at the expense of what used to be private railroad operators back in the 1950s, where they were being taxed at exorbitant rates to go ahead and fund basically scot-free a lot of these highways. Highways don't make money apart from more or less public funding. There are some private roads out there. Indiana Toll Road is one of them, and there's a lot of mixed opinion about that said road. I think it's the thing. The problem is that there's a massive and sustained government intervention for a specific mode of transportation. So it's not really a fair market in that sense. Okay, the thing is, before government became super involved within pushing for roadways and airlines, intercity rail passenger systems and street cars and transit systems were very much a part of the American life. I mean, you see so many old photos of back in Detroit and Los Angeles, New York, so many of these American cities that had so many cars, but yet a lot of street cars and a lot of public transportation that was run in a very, well-ordered fashion. So, yeah.
Then you had Ford and GM back in the 30s all the way through the 50s, and they screwed everything up for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you can go. There's a whole lot of stuff in there, but
Ubered individual automobiles rather than taking public transit, and they built the infrastructure to support it. And I agree it was a bad decision, but at the time, we understand why.
Here's the thing about GM and the car companies at that time, because they were back then the railroad. In the 19th century, the railroads were the lobbyists. Yeah, they were the lobbyists at the 19th century.
So I think be fair. What do we call them, robber barons, or what do we call them, captains of industry? I mean, there was a lot of lobbying coming from the railroad. Let's be extremely fair and honest here.
Yeah. I think that shifted from railroad to car companies, and now the car companies are the lobbyists, and the railroads don't have the same amount of power as railroads and airlines.
That is true, and also...
What railroads are you talking about other than Amtrak and Brightline?
I'm talking about, this is way before Amtrak, though.
Yeah, well, before Amtrak, you had a P&R Railroad, you had all these regional railroads all over the country, and then they started losing money because people were taking the train more, and then Amtrak was founded.
Not.
Yeah.
But reason why that would cause would be because of our government back in the 50s, because it's something that some people don't realize is that when the Interstate Act was written, there was a clause in it saying, because of the act is now in law, guess who had to pay for the roads? The railroads. The railroad had to give money to their competition, and that would make tax free. Dimitri, you even did a video talking about this. Am I right?
Yeah, and the thing is that you have to look. There's a lot of different ways that this has been pushed because it's not an organic way. The way the country's been made post World War II. You had the funding and push for the creation of parkways through Robert Moses, which is probably one of the biggest ghouls that has ever had any sort of power within this country. You had the creation of the suburbs by William Levitt, and then that started to push people away from what was normally done for thousands of years of having cities and then outlying towns, which had more sprawl of suburbs. This is something that has never been done in human history, where people would live outside of town and then commute, for almost an hour into the city and then leave out.
And
that also killed the American Mall and third places, essentially.
And also, suburbia is a failure.
The American Mall is a completely other aberration that's very connected to the suburbs. But that's a different conversation for a different time. The fact of the matter is that the city planning and suburbanization of the United States caused a lot of the destruction that we're seeing today, right? There's a lot of other foundational issues that's been caused with this.
Oh, yeah,
right?
and
the solution of the family. Like I've said, there's some sort of thing as the nuclear family. There's always been an extended family. When there's been towns, people knew each other, or there were big families. There were cousins. There were other families that were related to the families. They usually lived and worked within a town, whether they were farmers or whether they were blacksmiths or whatever sort of job that they had. Within a city, you had different sorts of industries, okay? And of course, in cities, there's a lot more people, there's a lot more going on. But when you look at the United States prior to World War II, there was a much more natural way of how cities were being built. And you can see the difference between how a city like Detroit, how it looked like and how it was being built.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the pictures of Detroit before World War II and after World War II, with the mass amount of suburbanization and the creation of the interstate highway system, it is not the same city.
Oh, yeah. Heck, I looked at those photos, and that I can agree with.
Yeah, and there's a lot more reasons as to why Detroit is Detroit now. But again, probably one of the biggest parts was the shifting of people. Shifting of people because of the interstate highway system and the change of public policy during that time. That's what it could be chalked up to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go to what are you trying to advocate for right now in America when it comes to passenger rail? What would you like to see done?
It's probably an overhaul of how we go ahead and build our cities. We have to start from the foundation, right?
Yeah.
So making sure that first of all, young people have jobs that they can be able to afford living in a city, to be able to afford having a family, okay? Because you can't have a passenger rail system or any sort of working system if you don't have people living in cities and thriving in cities, okay?
That is true.
We have to look at what's worked and adapt it to today. Okay, so that's first of all. Before we even start with infrastructure, we have to start with people first, because infrastructure is about moving people. That's the first thing about it, right? Transportation infrastructure is about moving people.
Okay, I think that you're right, but I argue that instead of arguing the way cities are made right now, we can so first off, I'm targeting the big metropolitan areas like Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Boston, Chicago. Let's use Boston as my example, as they have their inner core and they have a pretty reliable the T. It's a pretty reliable metro system. I would like to have more commuter rails to go to the suburbs where you can go to a park and ride, take the train into the
Park
city,
and ride?
you can use metro out. I think we should be able to have this, but in a larger scale all over America.
We got a car
That's a fair
over.
point.
Again?
Yeah, it's worked mixed depending on how it's done properly, because it's worked very well in places like Chicago. It hasn't worked so well, I would say, in probably some place like Miami, where I've taken the Golden Glades interchange. That's a complete, absolute nightmare to get to, and mainly because it's situated right in the middle of I-95 and the Turnpike, and a whole spaghetti bowl of absolute hell in there, right?
Now, I do want to bring to a park and ride. They don't work everywhere.
Exactly.
And here at Tane, there are reasons why European think we're psycho, because we let her defend the car and suburban development instead of realizing that we're in the wrong.
Yep.
So the people who defend that need to realize the reason why the Europeans think we're idiots and psychos.
Exactly.
Well, David, I think Stephen does have a fair point when it comes to at least working with what we have. And
that's true too.
Is connecting it to at least where they are right now to get them onto it, and I think that's a fair point. Again,
people use transit right now. Just wait for gas prices to spike, and those that are in like a city that has transit, they'll hop on it like crazy because it's much cheaper out there.
That is true.
Another
way to make transit more accessible is more frequency.
That too.
Nobody doesn't like to wait for an hour or 2 hours. I've been there before.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah. I'd like to give an example of this because I was in London 2 weeks ago and I took the train everywhere. And may I tell you, the most I waited for a train was 13 minutes. I counted it on my watch. And the amount of frequency they have for their trains is amazing, where it was like, I could live here because I don't have to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that...
I think now, with travel and with people starting to learn, and I think that's the best thing about the internet, right? Because people are able to learn about different systems without really having to travel, especially now if you're for millennials or Zoomers and we're poor and we can't really go anywhere or, get anywhere even within our own state. But, you look at a place like Japan where they have just frequent headway of trains coming in and out, and I was lucky.
Japan.
Yeah. But I was very lucky to go ahead and experience that system. The thing is just the scale of it and the way to go ahead and implement that here in the United States. It's almost going to be impossible to do that.
That for sure.
Retrofit to the best you can. Instead of retrofitting with rapid bus lines, you can try and put a tram. You can try and dig underground and put a subway system. Even though it's going to be expensive as hell, there's other ways to retrofit an old system other than just using buses and just terrible service and frequency.
Oh, Dimitri.
I think that's actually an area that Miami-Dade should be focusing on, and it's south of the Dadeland station of the Metro Rail system. There's a BRT. They're using a BRT instead, so we gotta recreate.
We're never gonna get the real expansion that the Metro Rail was supposed to be getting under the half-penny tax. That is not happening in any sort of fashion. I don't know in this century.
Heck, and Dimitri.
We're having a good conversation here. We got to bring in some more people. In fact, let's bring in Trucker Boy, and then 2 minutes we're going to open it up for everybody over here who's in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, welcome aboard. 2 minutes, I'll bring Grand Truck Rabbi. So, how's everyone doing today?
Doing good.
Hanging in there. We're doing good. Microphone, so I hope this works.
Hey, Trucker Boy.
Okay.
Breaker. 1, 2, 3, breaker.
Huh?
I said breaker. Trucker talk.
Truck, sadly, my truck doesn't have a CB radio in it. That's gonna suck. It's a garbage truck.
I wonder why CB never caught on, huh?
Sadly, it didn't. Anyway, perspective from a guy who grew up in small town America.
Same here.
Sometimes the only option you have is a car.
Why? Because they decided to get rid of those rail lines to save money. Turn them into trails. I mean, that's a pretty good option. But the interstate isn't necessarily our idea. Who do you think came up with the interstate idea?
Germans.
Did we take it from someone? Or was this our idea?
Took it from the Germans.
Yeah, exactly. So really, this originated with the Germans in Nazi Germany. And we said, and the guy who saw it was the guy who traveled across Highway 30 when Highway 30 wasn't paved.
It's kind of funny how that idea has become full circle. And the ironic thing is that Germany was building massive train systems as well. They still have a pretty robust passenger rail system.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. There was a giant gauge train that Germany at the time was trying to build in the 1930s that was just absolutely insane. It's kind of a good idea. Yeah, I mean, it's just hilarious, you know, all the, whatever they were trying to do.
That wasn't the only weird thing they built back then.
Yes.
Oh, nothing.
That was not the only weird thing they built back then. If you look at some of the strange things they tested, your mind would be blown.
Yeah. I mean, according to some people, they're living out of UFOs now in Antarctica, but I don't know.
Literally. Antarctica isn't real. It's just a wall of ice. I'm gonna give you one thing. Have you heard on the Boeing topic you mentioned earlier? Have you seen the show on Netflix called The Case Against Boeing? Yeah.
No, I've heard of it, but because I don't have Netflix.
It's a very good show. It digs into the 737 MAX 8 accidents and the investigations that went into that. There's a lot that Boeing does. Even after they learn their lesson, they still do.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the show here that Truck Boy's talking about. It's called Downfall: The Case Against Boeing. Yep. This is it. 2022 American documentary film directed by Rory Kennedy, interviewing relevant people, featuring archival footage. The document looks into the events throughout the history of the aircraft manufacturer Boeing that led to the crash of two 737 MAX planes occurring within a short time span. Now, can only see now. Again, this was done in 2022. So I'd like to see them revisit this with everything that's gone on now with Boeing. Unless, I don't know, maybe they do some sort of addendum special or something like that, like a 30-minute special. I don't know.
And don't forget, the government and these companies and Boeing have ties. The government probably told these companies, go get rid of your loose ends. How you get rid of loose ends? You kill them.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Again, it's not something at all that's new to the American government. They've been doing it for absolute years. It's what's the saying that, you know, America will say that, oh, we didn't do something, and then 20 years later it will become unclassified and say, yeah, we did it, so what? What are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the way things get run over here.
Yep, and that's a very sad truth.
Yeah. All right. Graham, Trump Klein, let's bring him on there too, because this is a pretty fun conversation. Let's run this until about 9:15 and see where we get from here. And
oh, yeah.
Call it a night.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, man.
How's it going, man?
I'm aboard.
Give me somebody left to play.
Finally, wouldn't be funny, but finally they implemented the two-man crew thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something that's been needing to be done for a good bit. At least, look, it's a small step.
Implemented that?
Yep, that's been done. That's official now. The FRA has implemented requiring two-person crews on freight railroad. So yeah, they finalized it.
Go out and say, all right, railroad, it's time to stop what you're doing and the operation.
I got sensitive hoping right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's a good step. It's a good step in the right direction. It's something, albeit small, but it's something that's been needed for quite a bit. Is it going to solve everything? Absolutely not. It's not going to solve world hunger, cure cancer, and make America great again. But it's still something that's at least somewhere there, right?
Oh yeah, that for
Now I
sure.
want them to ban. Now I want them to ban PSR.
Oh yeah, that's something we need to ban.
They probably won't. They probably won't because it's a moneymaker for the government.
Since we've been talking about lobbying, you really want to see a lot of fun lobbying, wait till you start putting up any sort of congressional hearing about precision scheduled railway.
Oh boy,
We'll be taken down faster than you put that sign up.
Oh yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to watch, but I again, this is going to be something. It's going to get worse before it gets worse. We're just waiting for the next. Probably it's not going to be another East Palestine. There will be several more East Palestine.
Oh yeah.
People are waiting until the United States hits rock bottom. We haven't reached rock bottom yet.
I'm gonna bring up something from a video game. If y'all remember the video game Cyberpunk, like if you look at the lore of that game like the lore where the United States actually completely collapsed. Like if you remember how that game started out, like even though it not be in reality, but how it is looking like the U.S. might be going down that path. That for sure.
Yeah, I didn't want gameplay through it. The thing is, I stopped playing it, so it's like this is just like too much of reality right now. It's like basically, Night City is more or less Miami. It's just the amount of just craziness that happens. Okay, so I'm not jumping 30 feet with gorilla arms and blasting people to bits. But I mean, it's when you look at it, it's like, what's so different between a cyberpunk dystopia to now? I mean, it's a lot of what's. Again, there's so much in that game that kind of just mirrors our own reality now. It's just, oh man, I don't know. I don't know, man.
They will go there.
Yeah,
I don't think they will.
Anyway,
We hope.
Mm-hmm.
The United States reflects cyberpunk so well, and a little hint of Fallout.
Oh, that too.
A lot of trade. Yeah, we have a lot of economic war with China. So, not a nuclear war.
What's the show?
I mean, so far they haven't made it to Alaska yet.
Separate division of industry. What's that show called? Oh, I can't remember this show. The show where they divided the country up into separate divisions of industry.
You're talking about the show. You're talking about the movies.
I'm talking about a show, a TV show.
I was gonna say that sounds more like the Hunger Games.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah.
In a movie.
Think about it. That's kind of where we're going on.
Wait, that's a TV show now?
What they're gonna try and do is make us like the Hunger Games.
I thought that was a movie series.
In a
Did they
movie
make
series.
TV series now? Oh wait,
It is a movie series. I forgot.
Okay, I'm missing something.
I'm thinking it's a TV show because there's multiple movies on it.
Like I know I stopped just watching any new shows or anything like that. I'm like, okay, I guess I made a Hunger Games show, whatever. Probably something we're not gonna watch at this rate. Speaking of movies and shows, honestly, the one that we've gotten closer to, and it's kind of disturbing in a sense. If you've ever seen Idiocracy, that's where we're at right now.
Don't get me started on the Twitter nerds, okay? Please.
Hey, speaking of that, I got some good news, and it's not coming from South Carolina, but it actually coming from Pennsylvania. It's that the Resident Northern Regional Railroad up there is bringing back passenger rail, and they are expanding with passenger train stations all over their line. So
that's pretty good.
So we got a Class 2 railroad that is now bringing back passenger rail.
Hey, that's some good news.
It's only a matter of time before a Class 1, and the Class 1 that we are more than likely going to be seeing to pull it off first that will bring back passenger rail is CPKC. They'll probably be the first Class 1.
Oh, that movie.
one.
It's quite a possibility on that point, David, because we've seen now Brightline being spun off from the Florida East Coast. Again, not a Class 1, but still it was pretty heavy, Class 2. But the thing is that, again, you're starting to see how more profitable Brightline is starting to become. They're starting to ramp up more and more. They are making, at least they're increasing the revenue through every quarter. Again, they're not as much as they wanted to be, thanks to a certain world event that happened in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still showing the rest of the country that it's a successful model. It is something that can be able to connect people. Not only that, be profitable still. And once you see more of the expansion, probably, I would say after Brightline West becomes a reality, you're probably going to see this explode throughout the country.
Oh yeah, that for
The
sure.
best way to do it, right? It's either through private company, which is more or less like a public-private partnership, because when you really look at how something like this has to run, you have to have a lot of public involvement and getting a lot of approvals to get everything done for the EIS studies and all the other sort of stuff. There's a lot that needs to get done, no matter what sort of funding you're doing for this, whether it's private funding or public funding. So when you're really looking at what Brightline is, it's a public-private partnership in a sense.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
I have something to talk about. Brightline is expanding north of Cocoa. Literally, they're heading to Jacksonville. They're trying to buy some property up north of Cocoa. So that's a good sign for Brightline to come.
Yeah, then they're going to go to Tallahassee.
Oh,
I'm
that.
not sure about Tallahassee. I've heard some mentions.
Capitals now.
Okay, when I used to work with Brightline, of course, Jacksonville was very much on there. If you look at the All Aboard Florida map, and I'll try to bring it up for everybody over here, the original map had all the way up to Jacksonville and then to Orlando to Tampa. There were some talks about maybe to Gainesville or anything like that, but that's a very low possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, there's been a lot of talk about to Charlotte, to Atlanta, to St. Louis, to Chicago, and of course Las Vegas to LA. That's been some of the other routes that they're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know beyond Jacksonville if they'll go ahead up to Savannah or anywhere else in Georgia or to anywhere close to the Panhandle of Florida. It's a possibility, but I doubt we're going to see anything past Jacksonville. There may be another company that comes in, or I don't know. But so far, I think
a company, like Brightline could create another company that would operate out of state. That
Mm-hmm.
would then take over Brightline West.
Now, I do think that if Brightline with them now thinking about going to Jacksonville first before, Tampa, I think that a smart idea because they won't have to deal with the NIMBYs, plus with, the people who are trying to give them hard time with Interstate 4. I think this might be a better option just for right now until they can, get that part handled. Because, let's be honest, they're trying to crunch them right there. And if they go with Jacksonville, it will be way easier because they'll be working with, for the East Coast. So, they'll have a leg up right there.
If Brightline's ever going to make it to Jacksonville, and I highly doubt it. I can see them winning Gainesville, but that's a very, 99% chance of not going to happen.
no, I think it's
Connect all the major cities in Florida. You got to get Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
And here's the reason why.
It would also solve the overcrowding problem of Florida tourism. Because I could get a hotel in Jacksonville and take the train to Miami.
All right, here's the main reason why Jacksonville. The FEC currently runs between Miami to Jacksonville.
Mm.
FEC is based in Jacksonville. Not only that, it makes sense to just go ahead and already use whatever they've done already to the corridor from West Palm Beach all the way up to Cocoa. They just have to do the same thing up all to Jacksonville, right?
Good.
And they'll probably add stops. And here's the map as it was. This was all aboard Florida back in this is their 2013 map, and they thought they were going to be running in 2014. This privately owned, operated, maintained passenger rail service will be running in 2014 at no risk to taxpayers. Okay, so they were four years late, but again, we know why they were a little bit late. But yeah, this is more or less what they were talking about: frequent, regular, scheduled round trips daily, gourmet meals and beverage service, reserved business and coach seating, Wi-Fi service, access to major international airports, seaports, existing commuter rail services like Metrorail and Sunrail. So yeah,
you won't be a gourmet meal.
I don't know.
Then select or first class.
And here's the kicker with that, because the track right where Brightline split and the track right there that split at Cocoa, did the kicker with it is that the track going to Jacksonville, that whole line past that, it double track all the way. So Brightline could probably get this done in less than 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, but do they have the money for it, man? Like, they're getting a ton of funding right now through grants and like private bonds.
I think they're just probably going to build Tampa first. They'll probably let that go for a couple years. It'll be Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, whatever's in between, Orlando and Tampa, maybe something in between Tampa, like Lakeland, or what they were planning before, like the Disney Springs stop that keeps appearing up and on. But after they get Tampa connected, they're probably...
I don't think it's just there's going to be a Disney Springs station. There's going to be a Reedy Creek station instead. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Again,
But don't forget the freight side of this. If I'm the FCC with a subsidiary passenger company, I'm going to take the full advantage to run freight trains at night on the Brightline tracks.
which is what they've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, Brightline and 40 East Coast are owned by the same company.
Yeah, well, they're technically sister companies. They used to be the same. They're technically related, but they're not the same company. Since FEC, well, they're owned by Fortress Investments, but they're still technically separate companies. But they very much have to work together.
That's kind of like their Uniter is the Fortress company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's West.
Okay, speaking of Jacksonville, Speaking of Jacksonville, you know what else? Why Brightline is going to Jacksonville? Because there's going to be a proposed commuter rail system in Jacksonville, in Duval County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you get on the train, look at a shot. Who knows? How is it going with support there?
Like, it going to work?
There was a proposal someone brought that they should connect a suburb to Des Moines, but I don't think it didn't get very far. Kind of stopped in its tracks.
Well, we probably all know the reason why.
We're at 9:18 here, so let's go ahead and put this train to station here. So, last words. Anybody wants to say anything?
Never train in Iowa.
One at a time. One at a time. David, anything?
Like, we'll be arriving at the station. I hope everybody had a great time. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you all later.
All right, that's a good way. Steven, last words.
Vote for trains or don't vote at all.
Oh, wait for folders.
Not a ton of crazy takes, but then you got some people with reason that come save the day. I don't know, it's a cool channel. Subscribe if you want. I like it.
Appreciate it. You guys are helping me more than anything else in saying subscribe and like the channel. I haven't even said any of that this whole entire stream.
Right.
All right, Trucker Boy, last words.
Amtrak will never expand to Iowa. Please like and subscribe to this man. He's very good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. All right, Grand Trunk Railway fan. Any last words?
Okay.
All right. Please advocate for rail. We need more rail. Like, subscribe. right, guys. Appreciate it.
Rock and
Like
roll.
last word should be like, I like turtles. Just like,
I like trains.
Oh, yes, Swan.
All right.
Train goes right to the front door.
All right. Genesis, last words.
All right. Okay, if you want to
Hear it,
support
David?
the Train of Progress, please like and subscribe. Share if you want. And if you want, and support the channel of Demetrius, the American Rep Club, or David Mitchell's channel, or basically my own channel as well. I have my own YouTube channel now. So,
All right.
we'll see you.
Don't forget, guys. We also have a Discord.
You should
All
come
right.
join.
Please join the
Yeah,
Discord
join the
too.
Discord. We put the link. Let me go ahead and just pin the link over here if you guys want to join the Discord. And at some point, when I do get this channel going, this is just a very slight teaser over here. At some point, I will get videos out there. We'll start building this channel back up again. At some point this year, I may lock away the Discord to whoever's here, and then lock it away to people who pay to come onto the Discord. Because at some point, it's probably going to grow. But you guys are here. If you're in for free, you're good. Okay, so this is the time to start getting into the Discord, because I'm going to start being more involved into here. I know I said that, but again, we're going to do stuff to get this channel going and to get more involved and to be an actual real force in becoming more of an advocacy group.
Oh yeah, that for sure.
Because it needs to happen. So join the Discord. It's free for now. Get in there and get involved. So we'll be getting there, because we're coming into our 10 years almost very soon.
Heck,
started.
My channel will be turning 10 years old on the 22nd.
Nice.
Awesome, man. All righty. So thank you all for joining on. It's been a wonderful stream. We will see you all
Next time.
Take care and Godspeed.
We have now arrived at the station, and please like and subscribe.
Did you say you ever at the right destination?
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Rock and roll.
Bye.
Bye.
And have a nice night.
Yep.